Hi everyone, welcome to Gig Harbor, Washington, where the anchor all began. We are standing here in front of a net shed, and for those of you who don't know what a net shed is, our town is an old fishing community, and back in the day, the fishermen would come off the water and bring their boats in and bring their nets into these net sheds to be repaired and get equipped and just get a little rest off the water. So we thought, what a great analogy for the anchor where it first began is this place where women of all ages can come to gather and be together and be restored and be encouraged. So we are excited right now to announce that this month we are going to begin to share an anchor moment with you. And an anchor moment is a time in your life when your faith has really been grounded and you've seen God at work for real. And we are thrilled that we are going to be able to share with you stories from women of all kinds of backgrounds and all ages, and our hope and prayer is that you would be encouraged.
Hi, I'm Adele LaCombe. I live in Gig Harbor, Washington. I have 3 kids, 2 adults and 1 16, and I've been married to my husband Kevin for 31 years. God has been present in my life for many years and has journeyed me through many storms, but recently I realized that it's really the first storm I went through that I wanted to share, and I felt compelled to share. I was 17 years old in high school, and I found out I was pregnant. And shortly thereafter, the guy that I was seeing, we broke up and I was all alone. And I'm sure that my sister, my parents, my friends were probably there for me, but I don't remember that. I just remember Jesus walking me very, very close by me during that time. I would journal to him. I was frightened and afraid. And 2 days before I graduated high school, I placed that child up for adoption, a little boy. That was 30 years ago. And it was sacred. There was something very special about knowing God had used me to answer someone else's prayer. That I didn't feel shame for what I'd done, but I also didn't feel like it was something I want to share with others. It was something between God and I. And so I share today, though, because 30 years later, I've seen what God has done. My kids, now adults, realized they had a half-sibling they wanted to know. And so my daughter did some research and ended up connecting with my firstborn son named Thomas on the internet. And so 30 years after placing up for adoption, we were able to connect and see the journey that he'd been on and see what God had done with what he'd called me to do. And I think how amazing it is that he is at a time when he's just married and has a daughter himself. And so as he's journeying through what it's like to have a child, that he's able to connect with his birth mom. And the beauty of God in that moment, in that storm, I've thought about how that moment has shaped all the others that come. Because as I face a storm, I know God is there. I know that when the storm has ceased, he will be the ever-present reminder that others, of course, will come alongside and help, but that he is so constant and so consistent, and he takes what we consider broken and he makes it beautiful. One of the things that I like to see God. You say God in the details, but I just like to see the patterns that God creates in our lives. And of course, 30 years gives you quite a perspective that you can look back on. And when I was pregnant, just a few days before I graduated, I had no idea it was so close. Tiananmen Square was happening in China, and there were students in China that were protesting for freedom. And I wrote a poem in high school, and I really liked the poem. It's the only thing I remember doing in high school that I kept. And as I reached out to him, he's moved to China. He's actually overseeing several companies in their Chinese-American relations. And they have said to him, you were birthed from Tiananmen, that you came during this time when our nation was falling apart, and that his birth coincides with that. And here, 30 years ago, I, as the the mother carrying him thought of Tiananmen and even wrote a poem about it that I could share with him. And I just got in the details. How amazing that that has happened. So that's my moment.